Hello and welcome back. I am Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports and WeBuyGuns.com in Westfield, Indiana, and you are watching Marksman TV. Welcome back to another gun store vlog. In this video, I'm going to be talking about what I think is the beginning to the end of the supply shortage. If that sounds interesting to you, please stick around. That's coming up now. Real quickly, before getting into this video, I wanted to give a quick announcement. I will be on the 2A Edu YouTube channel this coming Friday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be doing a live stream for a couple hours talking really more at length about this particular topic, supply shortages and stuff like that. Now, you guys will be able to join in the chat and ask any questions, so we're going to lead it in more of a conversational type video. Again, that's going to be over at the 2A Edu YouTube channel this Friday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I do have a link to his channel down in the description, so make sure you go over there, subscribe, bookmark his page, and come on over at 9:30 Eastern on this coming Friday to join in on that live stream. So hope to see a lot of you guys there. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into it. A lot of you guys know that I like to touch on this topic about every 2 to 4 weeks, or at least give you guys an idea of when I am seeing a fundamental change occurring in the market. Right now, I can pretty well definitively say that we're probably at the beginning of the end of the supply shortage that we have been suffering through as the gun community for the better part of the past year and a half. Now, back in 2020, I would say early 2020, February, March, demand was pretty flat and it went on a very steep climb upwards very, very quickly. You had a lot of fear and panic around the pandemic. A lot of first-time buyers were flooding into gun shops and purchasing firearms and ammunition. There was about an estimated 8 to 12 million new first-time gun buyers last year. All those people needed the ammunition to use in their firearms for practicing and training and self-defense. The market just basically took off and went to heights that we have never really witnessed before. Now, this has happened similarly back in about early 2013 post-Sandy Hook. That was really politically motivated. We saw a huge surge in demand, a shortage on ammunition and firearms for about, I want to say it was late 2015, early 2016 when supply started to sort of stabilize and get back to normal. So it was about a 2 to 3 year span that took to get things a little bit back to normal. And again, that was about the time I entered the firearms market. So I remember that very clearly as a new supplier. It was really hard to get a lot of stuff for the first 2 to 3 years. This is a little bit different, as you could argue that this shortage has been politically motivated. I would say the 2013 shortage was more panic around gun control, which affected the gun industry. People who were already gun owners were the people who were a little bit more apprehensive and going out and buying a bunch of stuff. In 2020, with the pandemic, it was really first-time buyers that were being coerced to really go out and get a bunch of stuff due to panic and fear of what was going on, needing to feel like they needed something to defend their family. I guess better late than never, but that led to a completely different dynamic. Now what we're starting to see is because the impetus for that threat, or the whole root of that fear and panic, is really dying off with people, the news cycle is starting to change away from COVID and all that sort of stuff. Rioting and looting is really not really a thing anymore this year. People are starting to chill out. The demand is definitely starting to fall off. And I would say the demand is sort of starting to tank. What I am noticing is we took off like this. We hit the peak of the demand probably late 2020, early 2021. And right now we are on a very steep downward. We're kind of at the top. When you're going over the edge in a roller coaster, you're ready for a very, very fast decline down to the bottom. And that's where I think we are, right here at the top. So prices are still elevated on a lot of things. Supply is not the best, but I am seeing daily changes and trends for supply levels and pricing. I discussed sort of in the past how retailers get inventory. We go through wholesalers, as wholesalers have websites. Now, typically, we're able to go onto those websites and put inventory into a shopping cart, order it in, just like if you guys go onto a retailer site and buy something. We order in a bunch of firearms, they show up, we put them in the case, we pay our bills, things like that. Typically, about once a week, you get an allocation phone call from your sales rep who might have a highly desirable thing, like back when the P365s hit the market. Those may have been on allocation, or back when the Ruger 57 hit the market, those would have been on allocation. So otherwise normal market, but some hard to get items, your sales rep would call you up and let you know, hey, I've got 2 or 3 of these if you want them. Over the past year, supply went totally to allocation phone calls. Their websites were totally out of stock on everything. We would get a call about once or twice a week from our sales reps. They would let us know the short list of items they had in stock. Those would be anything from Taurus G2Cs to like Bond Arms 9mm Derringers, anything that we could get that would fire a projectile, that was on allocation, that was deemed as high priority inventory. And that's what we were sort of talking about, trying to get in through phone calls and stuff like that, kind of staggering all over ourselves to get into our store. It's actually a lot of people think that the high demand is, great time for the gun dealers. It can actually be pretty scary because the demand can be anything you want it to be, but when you're standing in an empty store, it's really hard to move product and, drive revenue and stuff like that. But I just had a phone call with my sales rep Tuesday, and on the allocation phone call, he said, I've got, a SIG P365, and my question is always, how many do you have in stock? And, or how many can I have? And typically it's like, I have one. And I asked, how many do you have in stock? How many can I have? And he said, how many do you want? And I said, well, how many do you have in stock? He's like, 10. And immediately I'm like, well, I just want one, because that tells me after I sell it, I can go back and get another. And this is true. This is just consumer mentality, and I'll explain a little bit of that in a minute. Hellcats, how many do you have? Well, I've got 15 of them. Okay, I'll take one. Ruger 57s, I've got 7 of them. Okay, I'll take one. Like that 6 months ago was unheard of. If he had said that 6 months ago, I would have been like, why are they not already all in a truck on their way to me? Now I'm kind of backing off because I'm also seeing the traffic in my store really starting to slow down. People are seeing cabinets full of guns, and I think it's sort of that same mentality. I don't need to purchase that right now because look, you have 300 guns in here. I can come back tomorrow and there's going to be plenty for me to choose from. You're going to have more coming in. Our wholesaler websites are not fully stocked, but the fact that we're able to order 10 P365s or 10 Hellcats or 6 Ruger 57s at one time is telling me that the restocking of their inventories online is definitely coming back. I'm starting to see some things like Smith Easy Shields and the Shield Plus and stuff like that is actually, they have like 200 or 300 on their website. So that stuff is starting to really come back in. Remember, when you're talking about a recovering market on something coming back down to normal, the first thing that's going to happen is supply is going to return. The second thing that's going to happen is the pricing is going to come down. So we haven't yet hit phase 2, at least in my observation, but I think that's soon to come. Again, supplies are going to fill up everywhere. The supply chain is going to fill up everywhere. Gun stores are going to have fewer customers to sell things to, and they're going to start competing with one another and driving their prices down. It's a story as old as time when it comes to economics. That's absolutely what's going to start happening again. The market is going to have to recover. Now, I don't necessarily think the market is just going to come back to what it was. I think the pendulum will swing the other direction. We did have a solid year and a half of people buying absolutely everything. There was a voracious appetite for guns and ammo. I think the market has had more than its fill of that sort of thing, and we're going to start seeing a slowdown, especially again as people stop get into the, start seeing, guns and ammunition is so plentiful in gun stores again. Is going to cause people to sort of chill out a little bit and slow down on purchasing things they may not have otherwise bought, which is again, when he said I've got 10 P365s, I just bought one. If he said I had 2 P365s, I probably would have bought them both. It's just kind of funny, the psychology of it, because again, that tells me I can go back to the well anytime and get more if I need to, short of another act of God and the market going nuts again. But you don't want to typically base your inventory levels on black swan events like that. Now, when it comes to the used market, it's going to have the same adverse effect. As we start to fill up with inventory and demand starts to come down, retailers like myself are not going to be willing to offer as much for that inventory. Now, there is a private market, and that can also hurt the local gun store or online retailer market, as more of that stuff is probably going to show up at local trading boards and stuff like that. Again, a lot of those people who made those purchases were new to the market, so I don't know how adverse those types of people are to private sales, local forums, local trading boards and stuff like that. So I don't know how much of that will show up. But definitely I do expect that there's going to be a big surge in the used market. I predicted that 6 or 7 months ago. I did a video on this topic. I think that's coming true right now. I'm getting totally stocked up on stuff. I'm noticing fewer buyers coming in. That's absolutely going to lead to a lower demand of used gun inventory and the pricing to come down. We're going to start declining new inventory as well, When that starts happening and the wholesalers get completely bulked up, they're going to have to start lowering their prices, which always gets passed on to the consumer as well. So give it again a few more months, and then we're probably going to start to see pricing not only level, but maybe even go a little bit the opposite direction on both new and used inventory. Now the big $1 million question everybody has is ammunition. Is ammunition coming back? I think there is going to be about I'm going to say probably a 3-month lag on ammo from guns. I think there was much more of a demand for ammo than there was for guns. Again, we're starting to see ammunition trickle back in a little bit. Where you're starting to see that is in the big accounts. That's the big brick and mortar retailers, the chain stores like Point Blank Ranges and Cabela's and places like that, the big online retailers. An interesting thing that we saw over the course of the big shortage was ammunition manufacturers started creating an online presence so they could sell that stuff direct to the consumer. You're starting to see a lot of that ammunition show up there. I'm having a lot of customers report back to me the luck that they are having going into to large shops, finding ammunition completely stocked on every shelf. The pricing that people are telling me for the most part has not come all the way down, but instead of being $50 to $100 for a box of 9mm, I'm hearing people finding it for $20 to $30 a box. Again, if we just go back in time 3 months ago, that is a huge improvement. So I think give it about 3 more months, we should probably see ammunition availability even at the local gun store a lot better. Pricing is probably going to start trickling down. Remember, you had a lot of first-time buyers who were not used to what the pricing was pre-pandemic, were willing to pay $1 around for 223 and 9mm. So I think the pricing on the ammunition is going to start sort of coming back down a little bit more slowly than the firearms, but I do ultimately see it coming down. Also, I don't really think ammunition is ever going to go back to what it was pre-pandemic. If we use 9mm as an example and say a box was $10 pre-pandemic, $10 to $12 depending on the brand. Let's just say $10. I don't think it's going to ever get back to $10. I think it's probably going to get down to like $13, $14 a box is what's probably going to end up being about a regular price for a box of Target 9mm. The reason I say that is because before the 2013 panic, you could find a box of 9mm for about $8 to $10. Then after that slowed down in 2015, 2016, you saw it stabilize between about 10 to 12. Back before Obama was elected in 2008, you could get a box of 9mm for probably $7 or $8 at Walmart. So every time there's a shortage and a big boom in demand, every time the ammo prices stabilize back down, they always end up stopping $1 or $2 higher than what they were previously. It's happened every single time. So I don't think that that's going to change. Again, over the past year and a half, when people have been used to paying $50 for a box of 9mm, I think people are going to be more than happy to pay $12 to $14 for a box of 9mm moving forward, and that's probably going to be about what's going to end up happening. That's just a guess on my part. I'm just using data from the past and sort of predicting what's likely to happen with ammunition in the future. Ultimately, those are just my observations. So again, to recap, new gun inventory is definitely coming back very, very, very quickly. The velocity at which I'm noticing things change in the market is very, very, very fast. A lot faster than when I felt things coming back to normalcy back in 2015, 2016. So again, I don't think it's going to be much longer before inventory really gun inventory is almost back to normal levels. I mean, it really almost is, so which is great. Give that a couple more months, you'll probably be back to regular, pretty standard pricing. Again, one more thing to mention is seasonality, if that's an indicator. So in the gun market, the summertime is usually the quiet time in the industry. So June to August is usually pretty low in terms of sales. You know, people are out traveling, on vacation. It's pretty standard in most retail unless you're in a destination location. Now, this past year, seasonality wasn't even a thing. I mean, the market was hot from start to finish. I mean, all year long, it was nuts. Now we're starting to see sort of that June seasonality, so some of that slowdown. It's kind of hard to predict whether it's just a general overall overcorrection in the market of everything slowing down, or the typical seasonality that we see of just a quieter sort of feel in the store. But whatever it is, it's absolutely starting to, we definitely see that change. So if we're starting to see seasonality changes in the market, that means the market's definitely returning back to normal. So again, that's another good indicator to me that we're starting to really get things back on track. back and start to get back to a little bit of normalcy here in the market. Anyway, guys, I don't want to keep hitting the nail on the head with the same argument, but I did want to give you those observations. Some of you people have been asking me, so I'd like to again tune in, let you guys know what I am seeing and what is going on. If you enjoyed, please let me know by hitting that like button. Please also consider subscribing and hit that bell notification button so you are aware when I am posting new content. I'm going to leave you guys off there. I am Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports and WeBuyGuns.com in Westfield, Indiana. You are watching Marksman TV, and I will see you next time.